All right, guys, welcome back into another episode of To The Show Baseball Podcast presented by ProspectsLive.com. I am your host, Andrew Parker, and today's episode, I have on one of the Carolina League Players of the Week this week. I had Devin Futrell from the Red Sox system. Devin threw a little bit of a no-hitter when he had his outing last week for Low-A Salem. So I do talk about that, just talk about some things he was up to over the offseason. And we do kind of get into some of his background a little bit as well. But before I shoot to the interview, whether you're watching me on YouTube right now, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever it is, please like and subscribe. I'm still making a big push on YouTube. We're trying to hit that 600 subscriber mark. So please like and subscribe on YouTube. It'd be greatly appreciated. But without further ado, let me shoot you on to the interview with Devin Futrell. All right, Devin, you are fresh off winning a Carolina League Player of the Week for your no-hit performance that you had over the week. And it's exactly where I want to start this thing. Devin, how was the outing? How did you feel? What was working for you?
It was good overall. Obviously, you guys see the no hits, but when I was there from the get go, got a lot of early swings. I actually walked the first batter in 4 straight pitches, so that kind of sucked. But rebounded from that, got 3 weak contacts, and then from then on out, it was just getting in the zone early and getting weak contact, and of course the 4 strikeouts. But overall, it was a good outing.
Yeah, I believe I saw you walk the first guy, like you said, on 4 pitches, and you retired the next 15 in a row. So you were obviously feeling it. And how do you lock in this early in the season? Because obviously you're going through spring training, you're still building up. You might not be at full capacity yet. Like, how do you get so locked in so early on in the season?
I'd say it's mostly a tribute to my competitiveness. I don't want to go out there and get shelled. I mean, nobody wants to get shelled, but just going out there, making the hitters look bad, and making yourself look better is what's going to get you to the next level. And so I just go in, day out, and just try to show the hitters that I'm better than them.
So, what I guess over your off season, and I talk to you a lot down at the complex, so I know all this stuff. But for maybe the fans that are listening and do not know, like, how did you spend your off season? Like, what kind of things were you doing to get you ready for the season?
Yeah, I think I told you last year I was not familiar with all the new school stuff, all the numbers and stuff, but I took a deep dive in that this offseason, spent a lot of time with a lot of big leaguers. So just having the understanding of like all the new analytics and stuff, I spent a lot of attention to that. Developed a new splitter, learned that one. It just clicked one day, and it's been my bread and butter since. So um, yeah, I was around a lot of mentors. Obviously Corbs was there, Brownie's there. Worked out with Crochet, so got to pick his brain a good bit. Slayton, Lighter, all those big leaguers. So it was a good time. I mean, I got better, got 2 new pitches from it, and just looking forward to going out this season and meeting up with those guys next off season.
So what was the best piece of advice that you think you received while working with the Crochets of the world and all the guys you just listed? Like, what do you think was the biggest piece of advice you took from that experience?
I learned a lot about pitch design, I'd say. One thing that stood out to me was they were talking, I think it was Sonny Gray and Crochet, they were talking about their sweepers and that they don't even chase for the movement anymore. They just try to throw it as hard as they can because that's a lot harder than hit than we'll say a 77 compared to an 84 with less movement. So I'm trying to implement that into my game now, trying to throw everything harder and seems to be working out.
Gosh, you are like every name that you list is kind of crazy because you were working out in Nashville, correct, over the off season?
Yeah, that's correct.
That is crazy that many guys. I feel like every time you hear it, it's like, oh, all these guys are down in Florida, they're down in Texas. Like Nashville's got a crew, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say Nashville is probably the hottest place to be right now. There's
Ooh.
there's probably 30 big leaguers that just roll on a daily basis, so it's pretty fun to be around.
Okay, well, I those might be fighting words because David Sandlin has told me 2 years in a row that Oklahoma is the hotbed right now for off-season training, but maybe Nashville does give it a run for its money.
Probably, yeah. I'd argue Nashville's probably 1-1, and then I heard Arizona's pretty sick too, so I'd give it to those
Okay.
two.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, obviously you got Vandy there, which is I know that you are very familiar with Vandy, obviously being there, and but all right. So I guess now that you're going into your season and you've added, you were talking about the splitter, and I saw you throwing it in some lives and some of your new stuff. But how has the new pitch? Obviously, you just had a no hit outing, but how have the new pitches translated to the season? Like, are you throwing them in the right spots you want to, in the right counts? Like, how is everything working now as your complete arsenal?
Good. Splitters, it's been really dialed. It's been, obviously spring training. You want to go through some failure to come out on the better half during the season. So, splitter was really good in spring training. It's continuing to get better. I mean, I think in spring training, I went over the numbers. I think I got an 80% whiff rate on it. So that was pretty good. And then threw in a cutter there, I think later in spring training, and it's also pretty good right now, throwing it pretty hard. So just, sharpening my toolbox every chance I get and, trying to get to the next level.
I tweeted this out the other day, and I had to like kind of double check it because I wasn't quite sure. But for a guy like yourself that you've gone to, you got to pro ball, you've had nothing but success. I know like it hasn't been like the perfect ride, but you have a sub 2 ERA for your over like 70 plus innings, so it's not like a real small sample size at this point. What is a guy like yourself like needing to improve on? Like, what do you think is your biggest thing? Like, I got to go work on this.
Yeah, I'd say my lowest hanging fruit is probably just velocity. I know it's big part of today's game, but there's still guys out there who get outs, and I'm one of those. So I'd say, trying to throw harder is my lowest hanging fruit. So as long as I work on that, keep pushing up the floor throughout all pitches, I think that's what's going to get me to where I need to be.
And again, for fans that maybe aren't as familiar with you and they don't know like where you're at wise, like where are you sitting velocity wise these days?
I say upper 80s to low 90s. I mean, it's to where I was later in the year. Obviously, I was a little banged up last year, but this year I had a good floor. I walked in spring training 91, 93. So trying to get back there and even a little bit more. That I think that's what's going to take me to the next level.
Do they like? Does the team sit you down and I guess whenever you are reporting to when everybody goes off to their affiliates, right? And does the team kind of sit you down, maybe the player development staff or whoever it is, do they kind of tell you like, hey, like if we see X, Y, and Z out of you, like you could get up to the next level? Like, did they have any talks with you about any of that stuff?
Not really. I think when you report in spring training, that's when you have your player plan, meeting goals, and all that. So they they let you pick out your own goals. Mine was to obviously throw harder and throw the sweeper harder, but other guys there's different goals. So like we'll say change up goal below 3 vert. It's just everything you can think of that's attainable for you to get yourself in a better spot to get to the big leagues. That's kind of what the goal is.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Sometimes you kind of hear things of like, hey, like, a guy gets promoted and maybe he's fresh to a level, and they're just like, hey, like, we'd like to see this out of you. Possibly could get you there. So, just had to ask that one. But, with you having success at the level you're at, and so far this year, like, what do you personally need to do? Like, I guess just it can be statistical, it can be personal, it can be anything. Like, while you're there in Salem, like what are you like actively working on right now?
Obviously, the velocity. I'm trying to maintain that in games so I can throw harder. But I think last week I decided to switch up my sweeper a little bit. I was chasing the horizontal before, and now I'm trying to actually get lift to my sweeper. So something you don't usually see with sweepers. I think most of them hang around like the zero line. I'm trying to get mine to like 5 or 10 vert, so that for hitters it appears like it's riding a little bit. I think last outing I threw in at the 10 mark, so like it's for hitters it appears like it's almost like a hard cutter or like a slow cutter. Sorry. So I'm still getting the same horizontal movement, but for hitters, it appears like it's still holding plane. So that's something I've been working on the past week, and I think it's just over time it's going to be even better and better.
What do you even call that pitch?
It's still a sweeper. It's just riding a little bit more. I don't know how to
Okay.
describe it. I really like it. I mean, I got a strikeout on it last outing.
Okay. Yeah, because obviously you're starting to see like I think I believe the somebody pointed this out on Twitter, but I think the broadcast may have been calling, I don't know how many times you threw your splitter in that game, but I think they were possibly calling it like a slider or something. Like, I don't know. I think it was like some stuff is being mislabeled these days, which is okay because guys are starting to throw like 7 different pitches. It's a little hard to keep up, but how do you go about even thinking about getting like tweaking the sweeper? Like, is that like a you thing? Is that like a team thing? Maybe like you pick somebody else's brain. Like, how does that come up?
It was actually my pitching coach here in Salem, Reynolds. Me and him been working on trying to throw my sweeper harder. So we tried. I was a big spike guy before, so I'd spike it with my pointer finger, and I just like kind of rip it like a curveball. Now I have like a little split in my fingers, so it's like that, and I just throw like a curveball. And I think the first one I threw was at like 8 and like 16. So we were like, oh damn, that's pretty sick. So I tried it again, then we eventually saw it on the cameras, and I was able to get it to 10 and 15 in the game. So just getting that, I mean, that's obviously what's going to be able to, I'm going to be able to throw that harder, and it's a whole like new look for hitters.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued to see it. I know the broadcast is doing a fantastic job and they're doing as good as they can, but I am curious what some of these things are going to label these pitches as. You never know these days. Even AAA gets it wrong on Baseball Savant. They're always like mislabeling it changeups and all that jazz.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I know it's not easy for some of them, but I did want to ask just because, like I said, maybe some people are just now kind of hearing from you for the first time that are watching this out there. And I was able to kind of pick the brain of one of your biggest fans during spring training. I had Mr. Futrell right next to me while we were watching down in the backfield. And he was a wealth of knowledge, and he was kind of telling me a lot about your background and things that I didn't even know. And one thing particularly is the baseball scene that you had growing up down in the Miami area, if I'm not wrong. And the names that he was listing off that you either played with or played against was absolutely crazy. I mean, the talent that comes out of that area, I feel like is not talked about probably as much as it should be. So I did want to ask you. I know I'm putting you back in the time capsule here for a second, but can you kind of talk about like the experience of like getting to play with a lot of these like bigger names, played with them, against them, and just kind of even playing after them and seeing them kind of come through that area? Like, can you just talk about that experience?
Yeah. I think for sure that South Florida in itself is probably the most loaded area. You can recruit, pick players from anywhere in all the country. I mean, ever since I was probably 9 or 10, I've played with big leaguers basically. I played with Enrique Bradfield my whole life. Gavin Casas, Tristan's brother, played with Tristan also. Kobe Mayo with the Orioles. The list just goes on and on. I mean, even in my high school, I was an eighth grader, and the varsity team had, like 10 commits at one point. Corey Acton, Florida Gator, Mark Vientos with the Mets now, Tristan, obviously. And I mean, even my junior year, there was like 20 commits. I think we had 4 Vandy commits at once, which is like ridiculous. A bunch of SEC guys. So yeah, I think South Florida in itself is just cream of the crop for athletics and everything.
Yeah, he kind of, your dad blew my mind whenever he was kind of telling me. I mean, obviously I knew like, you played at Vandy, you're playing at Vandy with like, about 15 other big leaguers probably at one, over your years. And, but I truly didn't, I guess, grasp how many guys you played with when you were down in the Miami area. And he was kind of listing off all these guys. And, we were talking about the catcher at Mizzou right now.
Yep, Mateo Cerna.
Yeah, you were familiar with Cerna, and I was like, oh, okay, like that's my neck of the woods there. So just the amount of names he was throwing at me, I had to ask because you truly experienced, even college ball down in high school, because you're playing against these guys, you're competing with these guys for jobs against them. It's incredible. It probably gave you a one up once you got to Vanderbilt. I don't know how you feel about that, just having that experience down there and going to Vandy and competing against guys at that level.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like you said, playing in South Florida, you're playing a lot of top schools, and we were, the team to beat in high school. So you had to go out there, play with the chip on your shoulder, and make sure you don't get embarrassed. But it's not even baseball. It's just the school I went to, American Heritage. We had Sonny Michelle, Patrick Surtain, Anthony Schwartz, all these big name football players and even basketball players were rolling out there too. I know Dwayne Wade's son went to our school too, but it's just the list just goes on and on. And I'm trying to make sure that my name is also in that list in the future. But just doing everything I can to make sure I represent.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. But yeah, I did. Thank you for going in the time capsule with me for a second. I had learned all this information back in February for the first time, and I had to ask about it because I was definitely curious. But in some, so now I want to fast forward back to present day, and you were kind of brought it up earlier that you had a little bit of an injury back in early 25. I think you had a little bit of a shoulder impingement thing going on. But it seemed like you were pretty healthy going through your spring and everything. Like, how are you feeling like health wise as you start like 2026?
Good. I mean, last year obviously I had the shoulder impingement. It's what I think is probably the most stupid injury of all time. You can sleep one day and the
Why is
next day
that?
your arm hurts just randomly. So there's
Okay.
literally nothing you can do about it. It just happens. But um, yeah, that happened last year, and it obviously sucked. I wanted to get back on the field, and I was able to, and stayed healthy throughout the year. But this year, I feel really good. I got recently into yoga and mobility and stuff, so I've been smashing that. Feel really good. Body feels really good. So hopefully, keeping that going and staying healthy.
So how does that work with the yoga routine? Like, is that like a daily thing every other day? Like, or is it start days? Like, how does that look for you?
Mobility is every day. Just whenever I'm bored at the field, I just go in the weight room and stretch out and sit on a foam roller for a couple minutes. But yeah, just whenever I get the chance, just go in and do something little, even if it's just rolling out or stretching a little bit. I think that's gonna help me get those miles an hour and get to the next level.
I've been hearing a lot of guys in the system. I'm not going to name names in case they don't want to be outed, but a lot of the guys, including pitchers in the organization, they're all starting to get in on the Pilates train. Are you ever
Hmm.
considering that?
It's funny. I was interested in an off season, but after I see these Instagram videos of people doing it, I think I might have to pass and just stick with the yoga.
That is fair. My wife does it. She does class like 3 times a week, and I don't think I could ever survive, to be honest. So uh, I don't
Yeah, it
know.
doesn't
I'm
look
kind of with
fun.
you. No,
Does
not
not
at
look
all.
fun.
But there are plenty of guys, like I said, I will not name names there, but there are some from the state of Texas that are doing Pilates. And
Hmm.
yeah, you maybe can put two and two together that are down in the low minors right now.
Yep.
Um, all right. So I got two questions left for you here. One, first off, you come off a no hitter, and I know you probably wanted to pitch longer into that game. I'm assuming it was probably you were probably kind of maybe a little argument with the coach of like, can I stay in? Can I not? But how do you rebound from that? Like, how do you go from throwing probably one of the better outings you've had in a while to your next start? Like, how does one, I guess, mentally prepare to follow that up?
I know I have a lot to prove, so I know obviously every pitcher, every competitor would want to go out and keep their no hit bid going, but obviously they had to end. I think that was the most up downs I've thrown this whole year. So just making sure I control whatever I can control, and that's how I feel physically and mentally. So just making sure I'm staying locked in because I know my next outing's in a week. So I'm just doing the things I need to do throughout the week, and then go do it again next week.
All right. My last question to you. I had this sent to me from somebody in the organization, and I had to ask. Did you know that you were a meme on Red Sox Twitter?
Did not.
So you obviously know the famous picture from Salem last year where
Yep.
the brightness. They Chad memed you of like, this is the guy like you shouldn't worry about. This is the guy you should worry about with your photo this year. You haven't seen it?
I have not seen it. Nope.
Okay. Well, if you're on record right now, especially to one of my pals at hand that absolutely loves tweeting out photos of you, and it's absolutely hilarious. But
It's
can you
funny.
go on record in what your stance is on the lighting situation 2 years in a row?
Dude, I don't even know. It was I don't know. I mean, the picture, I guess there's like a shadow on like my left side, and like it looks like I have like a quadruple chin. I mean, I look pretty large, pretty round face. But I don't know. I feel like this one isn't that bad. What do you think?
I think it's good. I was gonna show you the tweet in particular. It says left is you and right is the absolute chat she tells you not to worry about.
Yeah, the lighting isn't that good on the left one. I mean, the other one I got a little smirk going. Look pretty handsome. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I just it's always on my Twitter feed. If you have a good start, it's like, you just got dominated by this guy, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. So I just wanted to make sure that you were on board with it and you're okay with it being a meme.
No, that's pretty sick. I'll
Okay.
take that.
Because literally you have edits on Twitter now. So
Yeah, that's quality.
all right, Devin. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, wishing you best of luck going forward. But yeah, I appreciate all the time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.